You have hundreds of followers, dozens of contacts in your phone, people who like your posts, watch your stories, reply to your reels. And yet, if something broke you at 2 a.m. tonight, you'd struggle to name one person you could actually call. Not text, call. That silence you just felt? That's the epidemic nobody is talking about. And it is spreading faster than any virus ever has. We are the most connected generation in human history. And the loneliest. Think about that. Never before have humans had access to this many people. You can message someone in Tokyo, join a community in Brazil, follow the daily life of a stranger in Iceland, all from your bed at midnight. And yet, studies show that since 2000, the number of people who report having 0 close friends has tripled. Tripled! In the 1980s, the average person had 3 close friends, real ones. People who knew your secrets, your family, your failures. Today, that number sits closer to 1. And for millions of people, it's 0. We traded depth for volume, quality for quantity. And we didn't even notice it happening, because social media didn't feel like a replacement. It felt like an addition, like you were getting more connection, more community, more belonging. But here's what actually happened. Every hour you spent curating a highlight reel was an hour you didn't spend being vulnerable with a real person. Every like you chased was a substitute for the conversation you were too afraid to have. Every follower was a way to feel seen, without the terrifying risk of actually being known. Connection without vulnerability is just performance, and we've all become incredibly good performers. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. Modern life isn't just failing to help you connect. It is structurally designed to isolate you. Think about how friendships were actually built throughout human history. Proximity, repetition, time. You grew up in a village. You saw the same people every single day. You worked alongside them. You ate with them. You survived hard seasons together. Friendship wasn't something you scheduled. It was something that happened naturally through shared life. Then industrialization moved people away from their villages. Cars made suburbs possible. Suburbs killed the sidewalk. Remote work killed the office. Streaming killed the communal experience. Food delivery killed the reason to go out. Layer by layer, every structure that used to force humans together was quietly dismantled, and nobody replaced it with anything. Today, you can live in an apartment building for 5 years and never learn a single neighbor's name. You can work at a company for a decade and never meet your colleagues in person. You can move to a new city at 28 and spend 2 years wondering why you feel like a ghost. Adulthood stole the architecture of friendship, and nobody warned us. In school, it was easy. You were trapped together. Same classroom, same cafeteria, same awkward moments. Friendship happened almost by accident. After that, you're on your own. And making friends as an adult is one of the hardest social tasks a human can face, because it requires vulnerability, consistency, and time. 3 things modern life actively works against. And the cruelest part is, not all loneliness looks like isolation. Some of the loneliest people in the world are surrounded by other people. You know these friendships. You've had them. Maybe you have them right now. The friend group where everyone is funny and nobody is honest. The colleague you get drinks with who you'd never tell a real problem to. The person you've known for years, and you realize you only ever talk about surface things. Work, weather, other people's drama. Nothing real. Nothing that costs anything. Nothing that would survive a genuine crisis. Psychologists call these weak ties. And they're not worthless. They make life feel warmer. They make a Tuesday bearable. But they cannot feed the deep human need for genuine belonging. And somewhere along the way, most of us stopped building anything deeper. Because depth requires risk. It requires saying something true and not knowing how the other person will respond. It requires showing up when it's inconvenient. It requires sitting in silence with someone without it being weird. We've lost the tolerance for that discomfort. We swipe away anything that requires patience. We exit conversations that get too heavy. We keep things light and wonder why nothing ever feels meaningful. What makes this dangerous is that humans are not built for independence. That is a modern myth, and a deadly one. For 99% of human history, isolation meant death. If your tribe cast you out, you didn't survive. The need for belonging is not a preference. It is wired into your nervous system at the deepest level. When you are lonely, genuinely, chronically lonely, your body treats it as a physical threat. Your cortisol spikes. Your immune system weakens. Your brain starts scanning every interaction for danger, making you more defensive, more guarded, more likely to push people away. Loneliness is self-reinforcing. The longer it lasts, the harder it becomes to break. Research from Harvard, one of the longest studies ever conducted on human happiness, found one single variable that predicted health, happiness, and longevity more than wealth, fame, or achievement. The quality of your relationships, not your salary, not your status, not your productivity, who you have, and who has you. And yet, we live in a culture that optimizes relentlessly for everything except that. We hustle for money. We grind for status. We build brands and portfolios and bodies. And we let friendships quietly decay in the background, always something we'll invest in later. When things slow down, things never slow down. And later never comes. So, what do you actually do with this? First, stop waiting to feel ready. The discomfort you feel about reaching out, about being the one who initiates, about seeming too eager or too needy, that discomfort is normal. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're human, conditioned by a culture that rewards independence and punishes vulnerability. Do it anyway. Send the message. Make the call. Suggest the thing. Second, invest in consistency over intensity. Real friendships are not built in one deep conversation. They are built through hundreds of small, ordinary moments over time. Show up repeatedly. Be reliable. Be boring together. That is where trust actually lives. Third, create structure. You cannot rely on spontaneity as an adult. The friendships that survive are the ones with recurring, built-in touch points. The standing dinner, the weekly call, the annual trip. Without structure, life will swallow every good intention you have. Fourth, go first. Be the one who is honest first, who admits something real first, who shows up when it's inconvenient. Depth is contagious, but someone has to start it. And finally, grieve the friendships that were never as real as you thought. That grief is legitimate. Some people in your life are there for convenience, not connection. Knowing the difference is not cynicism. It's clarity. The loneliness epidemic is real. It is quiet. And it is winning. Not because people are cruel. Not because connection is impossible. But because we have built a world that makes it easy to be busy and nearly impossible to be close. You can change that. Not at scale. Not for society. Just for yourself. And for the small number of people worth building something real with. Because at the end of everything, no achievement fills the silence. No follower count matters when you're falling apart. No career milestone means anything if there's nobody who actually knows you. You have one life, and the only currency that outlasts it is the people who genuinely had you and the person you genuinely were for them. Don't let convenience be the reason you die without ever being truly known.